Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're journeying into the shadows, into the heart of one of the most enduring and terrifying legends known to humanity. The werewolf. Half human, half wolf. This creature has haunted our nightmares for centuries. But where did this chilling tale truly begin? Who created it and how did it evolve into the monster we know today? Our story doesn't start with Hollywood special effects, but in the annals of ancient history. One of the earliest potential precursors can be found in the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest surviving pieces of literature. In the story, the goddess Ishtar turns a shepherd, her former lover, into a wolf, a punishment that foreshadows the involuntary and tragic transformations to come. However, the most direct line to our modern werewolf comes from ancient Greece. The great historian Herodotus wrote of a tribe called the Neuri, who were said to transform into wolves for a few days each year. But the most infamous tale is that of Lycaon, the king of Arcadia. As told by the Roman poet Ovid in his Metamorphoses, King Lycaon was a cruel and impious ruler who doubted the divinity of the gods. To test Zeus, who had come to visit disguised as a traveler, Lycaon committed a horrific act. He murdered a hostage and served his cooked flesh to the god. Enraged by this ultimate transgression, Zeus unleashed his divine fury. He didn't just strike Lycaon down, he inflicted a punishment that fit the crime. Lycaon's clothes turned to fur, his arms and legs bent into the powerful limbs of a wolf, and his cruel human sneer became a set of fearsome jaws. He was cursed to roam the countryside, forever embodying the savage nature he had displayed as a man. This story gave us a name for the phenomenon, lycanthropy, from the Greek words lykos for wolf and anthropos for man. The tale of Lycaon served as a powerful cautionary story about defying the gods and succumbing to one's own brutal instincts. As the Roman Empire expanded, these stories spread and mingled with the folklore of other European cultures, particularly those in the north. The Norse sagas, for example, speak of the Ulfhednar, fierce warriors who wore wolf pelts and were believed to channel the spirit and strength of the wolf in battle. They weren't cursed, but rather revered for their ferocity. This shows a different perspective, the wolf as a symbol of power and martial prowess, not just a monstrous curse. The real shift in the werewolf legend, the one that cemented its place in horror, occurred during the Middle Ages and the early modern period. This was a time of deep superstition, religious fervor, and fear of the unknown. The wolf, a natural predator that threatened livestock and sometimes people on the fringes of civilization, became a perfect vessel for these anxieties. The devil and witchcraft were seen as very real threats, and it was widely believed that a person could make a pact with Satan to gain the ability to transform into a wolf. This wasn't just folklore, it was taken as fact by authorities. The 16th and 17th centuries saw a terrifying wave of werewolf trials sweeping across Europe, running parallel to the more famous witch trials. One of the most notorious cases was that of Peter Stump, the werewolf of Bedburg, in 1589 Germany. After being tortured, Stump confessed to practicing black magic since he was 12. He claimed the devil had given him a magical girdle that allowed him to transform into a ravenous wolf. He confessed to a horrifying series of murders over 25 years. He was found guilty and subjected to a brutal execution, a stark reminder of how real the belief in werewolves was. In France, the case of Jean Grenier in 1603 presented a different angle. Grenier, a teenage boy, claimed to be a werewolf and confessed to killing and eating several children. However, the court, in a rare moment of what we might call progressive thinking for the time, did not execute him. Instead, they judged him to be mentally ill, suffering from a delusion known as lycanthropy, and he was confined to a monastery for the rest of his life. This case marks a subtle turning point, a moment where a sliver of scientific or psychological explanation began to creep into the purely supernatural belief. So how did people explain these transformations? Beyond pacts with the devil, folklore offered various methods. Being bitten by another werewolf became a popular vector of transmission, much like a contagious disease. Other beliefs included drinking water from a wolf's paw print, sleeping outside under a full moon, or wearing an enchanted wolf skin. The full moon's connection, which is so central to our modern idea of the werewolf, became more prominent over time, linking the creature's transformation to an undeniable, cyclical power of nature. As the Age of Enlightenment dawned and scientific reasoning began to replace superstition, belief in literal werewolves waned. But the creature didn't disappear. It simply transformed again, this time migrating from the courtroom and the village square into the pages of literature, and eventually onto the silver screen. The 19th century saw the rise of Gothic fiction, which embraced the werewolf as a powerful symbol of the duality of human nature, the civilized man versus the beast within. The 20th century cemented the werewolf's place in popular culture. The 1941 film, The Wolf Man, starring Lon Chaney Jr., was a landmark. It codified many of the rules we now associate with werewolves: the transformation under the full moon, the vulnerability to silver, and the tragic nature of the cursed protagonist Lawrence Talbot. He wasn't evil. He was a victim of a terrible fate he couldn't control. This sympathetic portrayal added a new layer of complexity to the monster, making it both terrifying and pitiable. From there, the werewolf has continued to evolve. We've seen it in An American Werewolf in London, with its groundbreaking and terrifying transformation scenes, in the Underworld series as part of a supernatural war, and in Twilight as shape-shifting protectors. Each interpretation reflects the anxieties and fascinations of its time. Is the werewolf a symbol of our repressed primal urges, a metaphor for puberty or uncontrolled rage, or simply a fantastic monster to thrill us on a dark night? The legend of the werewolf is a fascinating tapestry woven from threads of ancient mythology, religious paranoia, real-life animal encounters, and the deep-seated psychological fear of the beast that might just be lurking inside all of us. It has changed its shape countless times over the millennia, but its power to captivate and terrify remains. It's a testament to our enduring fascination with the thin line that separates man from monster. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the shadows. What's your favorite werewolf story or movie? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into folklore and history, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more explorations of the world's greatest myths and legends. We'll see you next time.